Most runners don't plateau because they're lazy. They plateau because the run they trust the most, the one that feels productive, disciplined, comfortably hard, is quietly training their body to stay the same. There's a lie hiding in one of the most familiar moments of your training. It usually shows up on a random weekday evening. You've had a long day. Your mind is heavy. Your body feels tight. So you lace up your shoes and head out the door, not to jog. Jogging feels pointless, and not to sprint either, because you know you won't survive that for 8 kilometers. You settle into a rhythm. Your breathing is loud but controlled. Sweat starts to drip. Your heart rate climbs into that zone that feels serious, responsible, comfortably hard. And here's the dangerous part. It feels right. You finish the run, glance at your watch, and feel a quiet sense of pride. That was a good run. I worked. I improved. I believed that story for a long time. I chased that feeling, that exact intensity, week after week, convinced it was the sweet spot where progress lived. But what if I told you that this run, the one you trust the most, might be the reason you feel tired, stuck, and quietly frustrated, even though you're doing everything right? Before we go any further, if you care about training smarter, not just harder, and you want honest, science-backed insights that actually move you forward, take a second to subscribe to this channel. It's the best way to support the work and make sure you don't miss what's coming next. By the end of this video, that comfortably hard run may never feel the same again. That question stayed with me long after the run was over, because the problem wasn't a single workout, it was the pattern that quietly formed around it. I started noticing how predictable my weeks had become. Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Same route, same pace. Same pace, same effort. Every run landed in that familiar middle ground where I felt like I was doing enough to deserve progress. And for a while, I didn't challenge it because consistency is supposed to be the holy grail, right? But something didn't add up. My legs felt heavy more often than they felt alive. I woke up tired in a way sleep didn't fix. Workouts that used to feel manageable started to feel expensive, like each run was taking more than it was giving back. When I looked at my times, there was no clear improvement, just small fluctuations that never turned into a breakthrough. So I did what most driven runners do. I blamed myself. I told myself I needed more discipline, more grit, more mental toughness. I pushed a little harder, ran a little faster, and expected that extra effort to unlock the next level. Instead, it only deepened the fatigue. That's when the uncomfortable thought surfaced. The one I tried to ignore at first. What if my problem wasn't a lack of effort at all, but the fact that I was putting that effort in the wrong place? That question opened a door I hadn't planned to walk through, because once I stopped blaming my motivation, I had to start paying attention to how my runs actually felt from the inside. There was a strange tension in every workout that I couldn't name at the time. I was never relaxed enough to feel smooth, but never strained enough to feel sharp. My breathing hovered in this uneasy place, controlled, yet constantly demanding attention. I wasn't fighting for survival, but I wasn't at peace either. It was an effort without clarity. What bothered me most was how familiar that sensation had become. It didn't feel like a bad day. It felt like the default. Every run asked for focus, for recovery, for sacrifice, yet none of them felt like they were moving me forward in a meaningful way. I'd finish tired, sometimes proud, but rarely excited for the next session. At the time, I didn't have a scientific label for it. I didn't know about zones or thresholds in any precise way. I just knew something was off. My body was clearly working, but it wasn't learning. It was as if I was speaking to it constantly, but in a language it couldn't understand. Only later did I realize I had been living in the middle, a place that feels productive, looks disciplined, and quietly drains your potential without ever announcing itself as a mistake. That realization pushed me to search for an explanation deeper than motivation or mindset, because what I was feeling wasn't random, it was systematic. The moment everything clicked was when I stopped thinking about running as one single skill and started seeing it as a system with different gears. My body wasn't one engine that simply needed more fuel or more willpower. It was two very different engines designed for very different jobs. One of them is built for calm, steady work, long hours, low stress. It runs quietly in the background, burning fat, laying down deep foundations, teaching your body how to last. The other is built for intensity, short bursts, high demand. It burns sugar, creates pressure, and forces the body to adapt quickly and aggressively. And suddenly my comfortably hard runs made uncomfortable sense. I wasn't going slow enough to fully activate that calm, foundational system. The effort was just high enough to shut it down. But I also wasn't going hard enough to truly challenge the high-power system either. There was no real spike, no clear stress signal, no reason for my body to upgrade its capabilities. I was hovering between gears, never fully engaging either one. For the first time, I understood why my runs felt expensive but unrewarding. I wasn't lacking effort. I was sending mixed messages to a system that only adapts when the signal is clear. Why comfortably hard is biologically toxic. Once I saw that I was stuck between gears, the danger of that place became impossible to ignore because confusion in a biological system is never neutral. That middle intensity wasn't just ineffective, it was quietly costly. Every run demanded a price. My heart rate stayed elevated, my nervous system stayed alert, and my muscles absorbed repeated stress. I was sweating, breathing hard, and accumulating fatigue, but nothing downstream was changing. No deeper endurance, no sharper speed, just wear. What struck me most was how deceptive it all was. On the surface, everything looked right. The effort felt honest, the discomfort felt earned. Yet underneath, my body wasn't receiving a clear instruction. It didn't know whether to become more efficient or more powerful, so it did neither. It simply learned how to survive that same effort again. Over time, that survival came with a cost. Recovery took longer. My legs felt dull instead of springy. The joy I used to feel in running was slowly replaced by a low-grade heaviness. I couldn't explain. I wasn't breaking down dramatically. I was eroding quietly. That's why this zone is so dangerous. It doesn't scream stop. It whispers, "This is fine," while slowly draining your ability to adapt. I wasn't building fitness, I was just accumulating tiredness and mistaking it for progress. Junk food miles. Why it felt so good anyway. And once I understood that I was accumulating tiredness instead of fitness, the next question became unavoidable. Why did this way of training feel so convincing in the first place? The answer wasn't physiological, it was psychological. That middle effort gave me exactly what my mind was craving. I finished every run breathing hard, soaked in sweat, with that familiar burn in my legs. It looked like work. It felt like commitment. There was a clear sense of having paid a price, and my brain interpreted that price as progress. Just like eating a big bag of chips makes you feel full, even though your body is still hungry for real nourishment. Slow running never gave me that satisfaction. It felt almost embarrassing. Too calm. Too quiet. There was no dramatic signal that I had earned the day, and truly hard efforts were rare and intimidating, demanding preparation and intention. So I kept choosing the middle, not because it was smart, but because it was emotionally convenient. It gave me instant validation without forcing patience and intensity without forcing courage. The problem was that my cells didn't care about validation. They needed nutrients, not sensations. And while my mind felt fed after those runs, my body was slowly starving for a signal it could actually adapt to. The ego trap. Why almost everyone lives here. That's when I realized this wasn't just my personal mistake. It was a trap built into the culture of running itself. From the beginning, we're taught that effort equals virtue. If you're not breathing hard, you must not be trying. Ease feels suspicious, almost dishonest, as if comfort automatically means laziness. So when a run allows conversation, when it feels light instead of demanding, guilt creeps in. I felt it every time I slowed down. Then there was the quiet pressure of being seen. A watch on your wrist, an app in your pocket, numbers waiting to be uploaded. Pace becomes identity. Slow looks like failure. Fast looks like progress. Without realizing it, I adjusted my effort not for my body, but for how the run would appear afterward. I wasn't training in private anymore. I was performing. And performance rewards the middle, fast enough to look serious, controlled enough to be repeatable. The irony is brutal. In trying to protect my image for a few minutes, I was sacrificing the very adaptations that would have made me stronger in the long run. Once I saw how much of my training was being driven by ego instead of biology, I knew the fix couldn't be another motivational push. It had to be a structural change. So I stopped chasing balance and started chasing contrast. I made an intentional decision to separate my efforts instead of blending them. Easy days became unapologetically easy. I ran slow enough that my breathing settled, my mind quieted, and my body stopped bracing for impact. It felt uncomfortable in a different way, not physically, but emotionally. I had to let go of the need to prove something on every run. And when it was time to go hard, I stopped holding back. Those sessions were short, sharp, and demanding, with a clear purpose and a clear endpoint. There was no pretending, no drifting. What surprised me wasn't how hard the hard days felt. It was how much relief I felt on the easy ones. For the first time, my training stopped feeling like constant pressure. It started to feel like a conversation my body could actually understand. To keep myself honest in that new structure, I needed something simpler than numbers and more truthful than willpower. That's when I discovered how revealing breath could be. I started paying attention to whether I could run comfortably with my mouth closed, breathing only through my nose. The first few attempts were humbling. Within minutes, an urge to open my mouth crept in, not from panic, but from subtle strain. It was my body quietly saying, "This is more than you think it is." Instead of arguing with that signal, I listened. I slowed down, sometimes far more than my ego wanted, especially on inclines. What felt like restraint was actually clarity. The pace at which nasal breathing stayed calm became a boundary I respected, not a limitation. I fought. That simple practice changed how I related to effort. Running stopped being about pushing until discomfort forced me to stop. It became about staying in a space where my body felt safe enough to adapt. For the first time, my easy runs felt genuinely restorative, not just less hard. Once I stopped fighting my body and started respecting those quieter signals, the changes didn't arrive with fireworks. They arrived almost unnoticed. Weeks passed, and something subtle began to shift. The same heart rate that once felt restrictive started producing smoother movement. Paces that used to demand focus began to feel automatic. My legs didn't feel heroic, but they felt available. Ready when hard sessions came, I noticed I could actually access intensity instead of grinding toward it. What surprised me most was how little effort this progress seemed to require. I wasn't adding mileage. I wasn't digging deeper mentally. I was simply letting adaptation happen instead of constantly interrupting it. Fitness stopped feeling like something I had to wrestle into existence. It felt like something that grew quietly when given space. The real reward wasn't just getting faster at the same effort. It was waking up without that dull background fatigue. Running started to feel like momentum again, not maintenance. And that's when I understood the difference between working hard and building something that lasts. That shift forced me to redefine what discipline actually meant, because the hardest part of this process had nothing to do with pain tolerance. Anyone can run fast on a random weekday fueled by stress and adrenaline. That takes impulse, not discipline. Real discipline showed up on the days when slowing down felt uncomfortable in a different way, when my pace bruised my pride, and my watch reflected numbers I didn't want to see. Staying slow in those moments required far more control than speeding up ever did. I had to learn to sit with the silence of easy running, with the absence of drama, and trust that something meaningful was happening beneath the surface. It meant choosing patience over performance, process over appearance. The gray zone had offered me constant stimulation and false reassurance. Letting it go felt like stepping off a familiar path into uncertainty. But on the other side of that uncertainty was a quieter kind of confidence, the kind that comes from knowing you're building something real, even when no one else can see it yet. That quiet confidence is what ultimately changed the way I see training. And it's why I wanted to share this journey instead of keeping it to myself. If any part of this story felt uncomfortably familiar, that's not a failure. It's an invitation. An invitation to look at your own runs with a little more honesty and a little less judgment. To question whether the effort you're putting in is actually sending your body the signal it needs, or just keeping you busy and tired. You don't need perfection to move forward. You need clarity. And sometimes clarity comes from having a simple structure that removes guesswork and ego from the process. That's why I continue to build systems, plans, and tools that help translate these ideas into something you can actually live with week after week. If you want to keep exploring this way of training, calmer, smarter, and more sustainable, stay connected. This channel exists for that exact purpose. What this journey taught me is that progress is rarely about doing more. It's about doing the right thing at the right intensity. We often confuse effort with effectiveness, not just in running, but in life. We stay busy, tired, and stressed, believing that discomfort alone equals growth. But real improvement happens when our actions send a clear signal instead of constant noise. Whether it's training, work, or personal goals, living in the middle, always pushing, never recovering, slowly drains energy without building anything lasting. The lesson is simple but uncomfortable. Growth requires contrast, patience, and the courage to step away from what only feels productive. I'm curious, where do you think you're living comfortably hard in your own life right now? Leave a comment below and share your perspective so we can all learn from each other. And if this resonated with you, subscribe to the channel to support the work and help keep thoughtful content like this coming.